Welcome to another episode of the Doctors Building Wealth podcast. Today, Kenji and I wanted to talk about real estate investing over the age of 55. And a question we often get is that too late to start? Or can I actually be a successful real estate investor? Now, Kenji gets this question a lot from members of our community. And by the way, Kenji himself is getting there close to 55. So I think this is a really great topic for us to talk about today.
Yeah, and as Leti said, I definitely talk to a lot of people who are older and they've been wanting to do real estate investing for years, but life happened, right? So things got in the way. I was just talking to one doctor who literally, he's been thinking about this for like 15 years. And he said there was some personal circumstances just didn't allow him to do it. He had to focus on family. And so he just got pulled away. And so now, though, he said, now that he's approaching retirement, he was like, okay, I've already paid for my kids' college. A lot of these personal concerns and issues are no longer an issue. And now I'm ready. And he's just like, but I'm wondering, like, is this a good time to start? Am I too late? Should I just kind of keep my money in the stock market and my 401k? Should I even take these risks? And so we started talking about it. And that's really what this episode is about, is to directly address this question of, does it even make sense for somebody who is over 55, maybe closer to retirement, to start thinking about investing in real estate?
Now, I have to say, we're not financial advisors, we're not CPAs, we can't give you financial advice. We're just gonna have a conversation, and ultimately you need to make your own decisions with your professionals. We don't know what your situation is, but we'll have a conversation that will hopefully give you some insights and maybe help you frame that conversation as you think through it.
Yeah, and place that I would start is, I often like to start with the end in mind, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I would say is, for somebody who is older than 55, what you have to really be clear about is, what is your goal with real estate investing? What are you hoping real estate will help you accomplish? And this one cardiologist that I was speaking to, he had a very clear goal, right? He said that I have a bunch of Roth conversions that I want to do. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically taking your money in your IRA and then turning it into a Roth IRA. When you do that, it's basically a taxable event, because once it's in the Roth, then whatever money comes out is not taxed. It's because once you convert it into a Roth, you pay taxes at that time. So what he was wanting to do was, he was wanting to spend the next several years converting all of his retirement into a Roth IRA. And then along the way, if he did it in a way using real estate to shelter that taxable event, they wouldn't have to pay taxes on that conversion. And so that was his very clear goal. And I said, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? It's a great way for you to take something, sum of money that you have that's taxable, and turn it into non-taxable money.
Yeah, and by the way, we've done this as well, where we actually liquidated one of our 401ks, but Kenji had real estate professional status. We had enough losses that we could actually not pay any taxes. We paid, in that case, a fee, the 10% fee, but we didn't have to pay any taxes on that 401k money, right? And so this is very similar. This is converting it from a 401k to a Roth, which again would normally be taxable, but now you're basically creating enough losses as an active real estate investor, right? You need to be active to be able to do this, that you're not paying for taxes. Another reason you may want to do it is maybe you just want to learn a new skill set. I think that would be another one, right? If it's something you've been wanting to do for a long time, now you're in a really much stronger financial situation than maybe you were 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, or maybe you have additional flexibility in your job now, and you're just like, I want to gain this new skill set. Maybe you want to pass it on to your kids. A lot of people in our community, they do train their kids as they're building out their real estate portfolio, so their kids have that opportunity down the road to buy their own portfolio that cash flows, so they can do any job they want because they have another source of income. So they have the finances to be able to be flexible and free in choosing the job that they want in their life, right? Even if it makes less. So you really have to get clear on why you want to do this, and the reason for you may be different for a lot of people, but you want to kind of balance that why and also understand risk.
Yeah, and I want to kind of continue talking about some other reasons, and I think you brought up legacy is for sure something that's really important. Diversification is another one. So a lot of people are very concentrated in the stock market. They know it, and they also know that the stock market is pretty overheated. So this might be a chance to take some of that money and go buy real estate and balance out the portfolio. Another reason that I wanted to bring up, and this is actually something that my mom benefited from, but a lot of people want to invest in cash flowing, income producing rentals in order to have that income. right? That of course, as you're retiring, yes, sure, you can draw down from maybe your pension. Maybe not as many of you have pensions these days, but let's say draw down from your 401k or your Roth. And there's something called a required minimum distribution where you have to, at some point, you have to start actually drawing money out of your accounts. And maybe you don't want to have to do that. Maybe you want to actually have income from a different source, or think about it as a diversified source of income, right? And so those are some things you might want to think about. And so again, very clearly, I've had conversations with people who wanted that income. And as I shared, this is something my mom really benefited from for years, with properties that my dad and my mom bought. And when my dad passed away, my mom had that income that she could use to live on. And it was just really extra money for her. And she also had my dad's pension, but still, it was really great for her to have that income coming in.
And then, we started talking about this a little bit. I started talking about it a little bit earlier, but also if you want to cut back, right? So some people may have the flexibility to be able to cut back now, but also some people just want to cut back. They're like, I'm at this age where I don't want to be doing a full-time job anymore. Full-time in medicine is really honestly, like a time and a half of any other job. The level of stress is intense. Medicine has changed. I know it's getting harder and harder for hospitalists in our former group to continue to do their jobs, and they're feeling a lot of pressure. And maybe you're at the age you're like, I don't want to work this hard anymore. I want to have that opportunity to bring in another source of income so I can cut back to half-time right now and actually do that for the next 10 years instead of being in a situation where I really have to work full-time for the next 10 years. So I think that might be another reason, that a really strong why that somebody might have who is a little bit older, but not wanting to wait until they're 65 to actually be able to cut back and retire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really unique opportunity. And some of you guys listening to this might not be thinking about it. Let's say that you're not 55, but you're a little bit earlier. Let's say you're even 50 and you want an easier off-ramp from medicine where you're replacing some of that income with rental income. And that allows you to start cutting back sooner. And that actually may, in fact, prolong your career. And I think that's one cool thing that a lot of people don't think about, is that they basically work full-time to the max until they hit a wall and they're just like, I'm done, right? And then they go from working full-time to zero, right? And so this is different, right? This is where you intentionally start cutting back, replacing that income with rental income, and then working half-time or even a quarter time might prolong your career for another 10 to 15 years. Who knows, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're doing the pieces that you really love, right? Maybe it's the call schedule that's burning you out, or maybe it's weekend shifts that are burning you out. You get to drop those. Then all of a sudden your job becomes a lot more fun and you can prolong it. I think about when I was working half-time as a hospitalist, I could have done that forever. It was the perfect amount for me. And it was only because of semi-retired MD and the growth that I really felt the pressure of I gotta leave clinical medicine, but my goodness, I could have done that forever. It was so awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It just makes that the lifestyle, the workload so much more manageable. And and then again, you have that time again, right? I think that's the beauty. So we talked about having a very clear goal, knowing kind of where you're going with this. And your goals with real estate investing may be very different at 55 than if you're 35, right? And so just be aware of that. And again, as we talked about, there's so many different reasons why you might want to get into real estate investing. Now what I want to talk about is why real estate investing may be ideal for somebody who is closer to retirement. And one thing that really comes to mind is, one of the things that you have as, let's say, closer to retirement, cutting back, is that you're getting your time back. And what does that unlock? When you have more time, it unlocks the possibility of going after real estate professional status. And this is something that maybe when you were 35, you were working full time, and there was no way for you to kind of work part-time in whatever job you're in. And if that was the case, then this is a chance finally for you to, now that you're getting your time back, to use some of that time to work in real estate and claim real estate professional status. And that really matches up nicely with that Roth conversion. And
it also matches up nicely if you have kids who are through college, right? And you no longer have those expenses if you're paying for college, and all of a sudden you have a little bit of space to breathe. And also what's so cool is when you have that space to breathe, now that creativity comes back, right? You're not just working all the time, kind of heads down. And that creativity is such an important part of real estate investing. It's a little bit of a game. It's seeing all the possibilities of a property, seeing all the things that can be done. And when you have that space to be able to do that, you will be able to create so much more in wealth and through your ideas than you would if you were trying to work full time, take care of your kids, need enough money, and do real estate on the side. It's a much more pleasant journey, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the things you were juggling when you were 35 or 45. I mean, it's incredible things that we do, right? And so, yeah, so really what we're really doing here is making the argument that investing after 55, I mean, there's a huge advantage, right? Yeah, again, we talked about how you may have more time. And then also think about when you're 55 compared to when you were 35, all the relationships you have now, all the experience you have, right? You have life experience, you understand risk, you have very clear goals, right? That's where we started, right? Because you know exactly what you want to do at 55. Maybe at 35, it's a little bit fuzzy and you don't even know like what's going to happen in the next 20, 30 years, right? But at 55, you're pretty clear about what it is you want to do. So again, at 55, you have so many advantages that I think you didn't have when you were 35. Leti talked about the expenses. You don't have as many expenses now. You don't have to pay for the kids going to college.
And ideally, you have your student loans paid off.
That's right, exactly. By now, hopefully, you have your student loans paid off. So yes, exactly. So you are in a different place. And I think about one of the key relationships is, let's say, lending, right? Lending is a really important relationship. And again, somebody at 55 going in, talking to a lender or a vice president at a bank, you're just in a different stage of life. And so you just carry a different level of respect than, let's say, you're coming in at 35. Well, maybe I think, because I'm close to that age.
And then also capital, right? You're talking about banking, but we kind of hinted on that too. Like if you don't have all this outflow and you have more capital available, that's going to allow you to grow your portfolio faster. It's going to allow you to be able to actually put down payments, and maybe you're going to be able to buy multiple properties without needing to recycle that capital. Maybe you'll even hold a little bit more equity in your portfolio overall because you want to reduce risk at that age. You kind of get to decide that, but I think the access to capital and the ability to get capital is probably a lot easier for you at that age than it would have been when you were 35. You had all those kids and you had all those expenses and we're just trying to get your first house, right? Those types of things. It's just a different picture when you're 55.
So we have a great article series on this on our blog at semiretiredmd.com. Also, encourage you guys to sign up for our newsletter called Investor Insights, where we share different stories about real estate investing. We share both real estate stories, but also personal stories as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you enjoyed this episode, join us next time. We'll see you there.